Driver's license testers, what's the worst thing a kid has done without batting an eye while taking the driving test? Okay, 3 stories. My ex drove a Gia Tracker, tiny car. She pulled right into the parallel parking area and fit in so unbelievably easy. The tester made her do it properly. A girl in my driver's ed failed her test when she went to DMV because she turned into oncoming traffic. Not only was there a grass median, there was some of those skinny red/white poles for about 10 feet followed by a guardrail. Each side of the median was 3 lanes. There really was no way to miss it, but she did. On a lighter note, I did the backing up 100 feet. When the tester told me when, I stopped and, before I put it into park, he asked me a few verbal questions, then proceeded to give me directions to leave the area and back to the parking lot where the parallel parking test would be done. Never put the car in drive, pressed the gas, and car went flying in reverse for about 20 feet. He apologized and said, "My fault for distracting you." As far as I'm concerned, that never happened. The kids make minor mistakes, and yes, some do make scary mistakes. However, it's the adults that scare me most, especially the seniors who are up for re-exam. Probably the worst test I've ever been on was this man in his 90s. I instructed him to turn onto a street when it is safe to do so, and he turned, narrowly missing a pedestrian. Not only that, but he was driving on the wrong side of the road. He came head to head with another car who pulled over to let him go. He was laughing about it because he was under the impression that it was a one-way road. When I got back to the office with him, I cut the test short and got him back in the quickest and safest way possible. He was astounded when I told him it was not a one-way street. Me, did you see any one-way signs? Him, no, but I assumed you were going to take me on one. How? My old driving instructor told me about a kid that pulled into the drive-thru at McDonald's, ordered some food, then realized he left his wallet in his other car, was using the instructor's car. He wanted the instructor to pay for his food and said he'd offer half of his fries in return. The wallet also contained his license, so the instructor failed him on the spot and told him to get out the car. Several in one day, actually. I wasn't the tester, but I was waiting in line to G my test with about 30 other people. The car they were trying to use didn't have valid registration or inspection. Automatic fail. The car had no brake lights. Automatic fail. The insurance was expired in the car. Put it in reverse instead of drive. Nearly backed into the car behind them, but didn't. Automatic fail. Ran over the parallel parking cone completely. Automatic fail. Hit the curb turning, left out of the lot somehow. Automatic fail. These were 6 different people who went before me. It was beyond frustrating. I waited over an hour for 6 out of the 10 people in front me to not even make it out of the parking lot. Just think how much longer you would have waited if they had. While taking our 450 test, I was sitting in the sleeper area, and the guy actually taking the test ground gears when shifting. He immediately let go of the steering wheel, causing the proctor to have to grab the steering wheel and drive for the 5 or so seconds it took for him to recompose himself. One instructor was riding with someone who was fighting the gears so bad that he decided to use both hands to jam the stick into gear. Instructor popped the brakes, and the guy sitting in the top bunk ended up flying forward and hit the dash. The dash cam recorded it. As someone who worked in a DMV for many years issuing driver's licenses, even though I wasn't a license examiner, I think I'm the closest thing to your target respondent so far. The craziest thing I ever witnessed with my own eyes was a dude who somehow managed to lose control at 15 miles per hour, jumped the curb, and smashed into the guardrail. Needless to say, he was not issued a license. The best story I ever heard from a coworker happened immediately after she came inside swearing a blue streak because, during a part of the test, where the examiner stands on the curb in order to observe maneuvers, her customer drove up over the curb and straight into her knee. My dad was friends with a guy who worked for the registry giving the road test. His best story was of a kid who took his test while it was raining. He started driving without the windshield wipers on. The guy figured he was nervous, so tried to give him a break, saying, "It's raining pretty hard, huh?" The kid was white-knuckled on the steering wheel and just said, "Yeah." Again trying to give the kid a break, he said, "Don't you think you should do something about that?" The kid said, "Yeah." Apparently he didn't know where the wiper controls were, so he rolled down the driver's side window and stuck his head out. At that point he stopped the test and failed him. My dad did testing for a few years, and he once had a girl stop on railroad tracks. There was a train coming, slowly, but still it takes them a long time to stop, and it blasted the horn right into the car passenger side with the window open. This just made her freeze up even more. He had to reach his foot over to her side to hit the accelerator. Holy crap. Opposite kind of story here. When I was taking driver's ed, I was in a car that had the brake on the passenger side for the instructor to use just in case. Going 35 down fairly busy street, my car all of a sudden comes to a complete stop. In horror I look over at my instructor, who is sound asleep with his foot on the brake. I just sat there dumbfounded. After a couple people honked real quick, he shook himself awake, mumbled a quick accelerate, and sat up adjusting his glasses. So that was fun. Not a tester, but I heard about a girl in driver's ed who was driving on the interstate with a teacher and 3 other students. The teacher commented that they missed the exit, but they would just get off on the next one. I'm not sure what the girl's thought process was, but this girl pulled into the grass and tried to go against the traffic to go back to their missed exit. The teacher had to use her brake on the passenger side, while the 3 other students screamed bloody murder. One of my kids has his driver's test this coming Wednesday, so I've been taking him out driving a bit. And his sister was learning a few years ago. I told them both about what to do. You miss your turn, you don't stop, you don't swerve, there will be a way to come back. You look for the first easy and legal stop, and you pull off, and figure it out. Or, you take the next exit, or turn at the next street, even if it's a long ways. That was actually my biggest fear for them, that they'd do something sudden like this. Wasn't a kid, my 80-year-old great aunt. The tester kept telling her to speed up. After a few times she said she can't see the speedometer, so she doesn't know how fast she is going. He made her pull over, and she did not receive a renewal, thank God. Edit, LPT, drive extra careful around pharmacies. It's usually crowded with old people. It's one of the few places they need to drive to. This is actually a very serious problem, at least in America. Your aunt seems to be the odd man out, as plenty of senior citizens have licenses, and absolutely should not. But no one wants to take their parents' car away and be responsible for the transportation, and no politician will get elected on the platform of taking old people's licenses away. But it needs to happen. I'm not a tester, but I asked my tester during my full license test what was the worst thing someone had done. Apparently there was an older gentleman who drove through 3 stop signs before the tester told him to pull over. The gentleman explained that he didn't want the license, but his family was pressuring him, so ran the signs on purpose to fail, made sure no cars were coming first. Come on grandpa, yeah, gotta get your license renewed. No, I don't think I will. In my local area, a guy in his mid-20s failed the test for some reason. At this point in time the results of the test were shared in the car. After being told he failed, he proceeded to get out of the car and grab an axe out of the trunk. I don't know any more details beyond that, but apparently it is why the results are shared inside the licensing building rather than in the car. Typically yes. My tester told me as I was returning the car, I'm not supposed to give you results, but you barely passed, and I want you to promise you'll practice a little more before going out on your own. Requirement to pass is 83 points. I passed with, drumroll please, 83 points. Not a tester, but I watched my, at the time, know-it-all son do the California roll through 3 consecutive stop signs as he was exiting the courthouse parking lot at the beginning of the test. The tester stopped the test and failed him on the spot before he even got out of the parking lot. My son's excuse, I thought the test hadn't started yet. That's hilarious. I thought rules only applied during the test, not before or after. Please subscribe for more Reddit binge.